Well, the power outage that affected 20,000 households for days in minus 30-degree temperatures and the death of a woman bring up a number of questions about Hydro Quebec's reliability, its schedule to fix an aging substation, and communication with the public. Here to talk to us about some of this is the Interim Mayor of CDN-NDG Sonny Moroz. Thanks for joining us, Mayor Moroz. I listened to your news conference today, and you seem, frankly, frustrated by Hydro's response to this outage, beginning with the way it communicated with citizens. You said it was the first thing you asked of the CEO of Hydro this morning when you spoke, because there was internal information that was not communicated to citizens in time for them to make plans. What was that internal information you were talking about?
Thanks for having me on, Caroline. It's a great opportunity to share the information that I have. When I met with the CEO of Hydro Quebec, I brought up the fact that online on the Hydro Quebec InfoPan site, it kept saying on Saturday night that it'll be reestablished at 8 o'clock. When they had information earlier in the day, they could have shared and put up to date, saying that it was no intention to bring it up and bring the power back by 8 o'clock to those locations. So once they know of the information, they need to use modern tools to push the information towards residents and update it as quickly as possible. It's wrong that individual families cannot make the best decisions to keep their families safe during cold snaps like the ones we've had over the weekend. It's wrong that Hydro Quebec did not share everything that they had available as quickly as they had in order for more people to make better decisions on that Saturday night.
Do you think that that might have contributed to this elderly couple staying in their apartment as long as they did?
I'm not going to comment until the coroner's report has been finalized, which will give us a cause of death and a better understanding of what happened. I do want to thank the neighbor who responded to the fireman's request in order to get access to the facility. I also want to thank the firefighters who accomplished something I never thought possible, which is to reach every single person by knocking on their door on Sunday within a 7-hour block to complete 4,000 door knocks. Those are people with family as well during a cold snap, and they were mobilized from across Montreal, across the region of Montreal, by the Firefighters Association. The firefighters of Montreal did a fantastic job in NDG to make sure everybody was aware of the danger, where the resources were, and also how to mitigate the worst impacts of the freezing and the lack of electricity when it comes to fires and burst pipes.
Well, let me ask you about that then, because the other problem I think you pointed out was that without power, a lot of people couldn't even see Hydro Quebec's supposedly updated information on its website, or perhaps receive texts and calls if their phones were without power. What could and should have been done by Hydro or someone else, especially when so many seniors are not comfortable or adept at getting digital information? What does this crisis tell us about what we have to do better?
Well, think about it for yourself. What happens if your power goes out and you're in charge of your phone? In that moment, you don't have the resources you usually have access to. And if you're a senior who usually relies on a less, digital way of receiving the information, they're not receiving it either. I have to say that the radio is a great way of circulating that information, but even robocalls that are used by politicians during elections, not everybody has a home line to be reached at a specific address. So I wouldn't say that it's a Hydro problem. I say it's a societal problem, one that we haven't figured out yet in 2026 about how to get people the most pressing information as quickly as possible. And that's why I really want to thank the firefighters for doing that job and mobilizing on the spot on Sunday. And without them, I worry about the situation we would have been in. And thanks to them and the efforts done by the borough to open up heating stations and the overnight shelter on Saturday night, Sunday, and Monday, we were able to give people the best available options for their family in a terrible situation because of a broken station and Hydro Quebec that has been lacking in its investments for decades.
Well, I want to ask you about that. We have less than a minute left. The MNA for NDG, Desiree McGraw, said tonight that the major outage at that substation was not an isolated incident, and she cannot accept that its modernization schedule was to be completed in 2029, and it should be an immediate priority. Did you get any assurances today from Hydro that that work will be sped up now?
They put in place a plan, one that the borough supports. Tonight on 4 streets in Western Loyola, we've asked people to not park for an entire 24 hours in order for them to fix first the transformers on the poles And there are other mitigating factors like bringing in massive amounts of generators on site to supplement the broken generator that exploded on Friday. So I'm really hoping that more efforts get put, but to speak to the actual predictability of the upgrade of the station, that's all done through a BAP presentation, one where we need more citizen participation. So as a young person involved in politics, one of the solutions is when we ask for your opinion, make sure that you're heard. And if an opportunity comes up to give your opinion about how you were impacted over the last few days, please participate, speak up, and the politicians will make sure that you get a follow-up and the investments are spent in the right place.
All right. Interim Mayor of NDG Côte-des-Neiges, Sonny Moroz, thank you so much for your time. We know it's been a very long day and a long weekend for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for covering this.